Okay, guys, let's get to it. We have the authentic to the left, rep to the right. Um, these are the Jordan 1 2025 high union collaboration, the Shidos as they call them for obvious reasons. Um, Want to make sure nobody gets scammed with any pairs out there. These pairs are getting better and better on the replicated end of things. And we're going to dig into the boxes first, check out the labels and so forth, and then we're going to get into the shoes. And yeah, just be sure to follow me on Instagram. If you're not, if you got any additional questions and so forth about this stuff, and we're going to go ahead here and keep it moving. So as I already stated, authentic to the left, the box is bigger. These are both size 12. As usual, the boxes are typically smaller on the replicated side to save costs on logistics, shipping, and so forth. That's pretty much going to be the case. But have they made actual correct, we'll say, sizing of boxes and so forth for shoes? They actually have. If you go to my previous videos, you'll see. But anyway, let's move forward now and dig into the boxes here. So let's start here on the authentic. We're going to go ahead and open it up. So it did come with additional tissue paper for each shoe. Nike's been doing this for a couple years now, where each individual shoe gets its own wrapping. And of course, the classic union collaboration paper, tissue paper. And yes, it does come with the YDMO sticker as well, as we see there. And the box code as well next to it there in the top left corner. Of course, we got the hole here for the pull tab. And on the lid as well. Does it twist? No, it doesn't. Will the replicated box twist? There's a strong possibility it will. That's just kind of usually how it goes. Put it in here. All right. Let's open it up. So this time around, we obviously have the union tissue paper. And of course, one sheet of internal tissue paper. And we got the YDM sticker right here. And of course, the box code there in the corner. So they're doing what they're supposed to do as far as replicating. Here is the pull tab, and yes, it twists round and round. And I think it might be a little glossier. Yeah, it is. Here it's like a matte black. On the authentic here, it's a glossy ring. So that ring should not be glossy, most likely. And we're going to go ahead now and flip over to the rears here. And let's see. So yeah, as we can see here as well. Okay, so the authentic, it's a much more cleaner, legible text versus the rep. I mean, the rep is obviously legible. It's just not as, it doesn't pop, the white doesn't pop on it, just not as strong. Again, both here have their blemishes and so forth. A bit more here on the lower quality ink used on the replicated box, which again is typical. And of course, we got the these little symbols here in the corner as well. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the actual UPC codes. So here we are looking at the authentic UPC code strip here. And as we can see, we have a little fold there, and you can clearly see right there, as you see those little ridges, that's that RFID chip or whatever they want to call it there. UPC ends in 614. This is a size 12, and the other sizing codes made in China. 1985 Air Jordan 1 right here at the bottom. And now let's have a look at the rep. All right, well, here's the replicated UPC strip. And how about that? UPC code does end in 614, and it actually does match the actual authentic. It does have the 85 Air Jordan 1 down low here, made in China, 12, and then the rest of the sizing and so forth. See varsity red, black sail. Yep, everything matches on the UPC. So if this is scanned, if you scan this on StockX, it's going to pull up, guaranteed. So yeah, as far as the difference between them, it's a hard tell. I'll say this, the actual strip is shorter than the authentic, I'll say that much. And the quality of this particular strip, it should have a little bit of gloss and should just be super smooth. And I do not see RFID behind here, those ridges there. So something you can use to authenticate. Okay, guys, here we are with the shoes. The moment a lot of people have been waiting for. Let's see what the differences are. We have the authentic to the right and the replicated to the left. Right off the bat, what we can see immediately here is the color of the white here on the toe, right? You see it pops, it's just like a bright white, clean. On the rep to the left, it's more of like a coffee. You can clearly see the difference. Some minor differences in the structure of the toe, even here where the perforated holes are, just as far as the design and the look of them again. Minor, but there are some differences there. See how straight across here these are? Versus here, kind of straight, then it boop, goes down, up, a little wiggly here. Just little things like that. Let's pull the authentic here on the right and the rep here on the left. So what do you see that immediately stands out? No question, the swoosh here is obviously much bigger on the authentic here to the right, and the rep is smaller. The Union LA tag, as you see, is tucked further in under the shadow collar here. I should say shadow panel right up here. Here you see how clear and outward it is and so forth. Now, when it comes to the UNC color here on the stitching versus the rep here, you can see that it's like a lighter UNC color. Again, different color tone. Again, typical with reps, guys. So I'm looking at the Air Jordan logos here. Now on the authentic here to the right, it's just not, like it's clearer. The Air Jordan with the TM is clearer here. It looks a little bit, you see how it's a lot darker? Like a lot darker. And also the gray there for the shadow panel is a little bit darker on the rep to the left versus the authentic to the right. Let's look at the toes. Okay, so we got a little bit of a smaller, thinner toe box on the left here, a little bit of a minor of a different shape versus the authentic to the right. So we got a little bit more of a dip here on the authentic versus the replicated here to the left. So we got a minor difference on the actual texture of the leather on the toe. They are both soft, extremely soft and smooth. I'll say this much, as far as the materials on the rep versus the authentic, they're pretty much spot on. Can't lie, the evidence is right there in your face, okay? Let's see here. Both plush. Again, bright white here, clean on the authentic. Rep, as you can see, it's got that coffee color tone on it. The red as well, though it is close in person, it is very close to the authentic to the right. It's a darker red, a bit darker. Here it's a little bit more of a brighter red versus each other. There's the tags. Now, you see something here. The foam, though they got the color right, the foam is way thicker on the replication and a lot thinner on the authentic. This paper tag here, they both do feel the same. I'll say that much, and there's a minor size difference between them, but even on authentic pairs, that's something that fluctuates quite a bit. Looks like they match the color well here on the mesh here. And again, just a little darker, more prominent UNC color on the stitching going across, and closer stitching versus here on the rep to the left, where it's spaced out a little further and a lighter color tone of the UNC. Let's have a look at the rear. This time authentic is on the left, rep is on the right. And here you can see the darker gray, a little more texture, tumbleness on the rep versus the authentic to the left, which is tumbled, it's just a little bit flat. Get a little more spacing here on the authentic stitching for the UNC color stitching here versus here on the rep where it's just tighter and smaller. Thicker leather cut as well on the replication. You see this here? That it almost looks like it's cork, right? But you see that thick leather cut versus here it's thinner on the actual authentic. Now something else you notice here, we have a thicker rim on the collar versus the authentic to the left. And also the black, which is typical. I don't know why, but a lot of times I don't get the blacks exactly right. On the rep here, you see it's lighter, like an ashier black versus darker pitch black here. A lot more richer of a black color. Let's have a look at the medials here. Again, authentic left, rep right. Hopefully you guys get it. Got the nice swoosh here on the authentic to the left, big swoosh hook here, smaller swoosh hook. Also looks to reach a little further out towards the panel on the authentic versus the rep here. Looks like it just comes just a hair short. They nearly did match the sail color on the actual midsole here. Just a little bit darker on the replication. And having a look here in person, they pretty much match the outsoles up color-wise. Looks like the actual authentic here just pops just a little bit more on the red. Just a little bit more of like a gym reddish color tone. Got the Nike with the swoosh here. Positioned differently here than the authentic, and it's actually bigger. Should be a bit smaller. And let's see. And also, guys, one other thing, when you get these shoes, so wherever you buy them from, this is how they're supposed to arrive. They're not supposed to look like that. Let's dig a little further into the accessories here. So when it comes down to it, as you see the rep here, they're in bags. On the authentic, they're laced together. They're not in bags. They're wrapped around each other. That's another thing you can look for immediately, so you know you're getting an authentic pair. There is a newer batch of the reps that will be coming out in a couple of weeks, and they've mastered this. Okay, so be careful out there. Do your due diligence, guys. Also, you see the cardboard shoe trees. It should be paper shoe trees, which we're all pretty much accustomed to now. Let's look at the hang tags quickly. I'll say this. There we go. They're nearly spot on. The UNC is a little bit darker on the actual replication versus a little bit lighter color tone on the authentic. And also it's like you got a chrome chain on the authentic versus like a silver chain on the rep. I've noticed that too. And let's see here. Let's compare the other shoes here. So obviously rep on the right, authentic to the left again. We got that swoosh difference there, as we can see. Larger on the authentic, smaller on the rep. The rep does have that gold trim going around the swoosh and so forth, as it does on the authentic. Again, tongues, colors do, honestly, they match in person. They definitely match again. We got the darker UNC color tone on the actual stitching here versus the rep here. And let's have a look here at the rear again. So yeah, so again, you got that ashy black on the rep versus the dark rich black on the authentic. Again, we got wider stitching here going on the back of the authentic versus a more tighter, more condensed stitching here on the actual replication. And let's see here, the tabs here are a little bit of different length and wideness. This one's more narrow, this one's wider. I know that can fluctuate though as well on authentics. And again, due to this being a super thick cut leather, you see how the seam of it just shows. That shouldn't be the case. As you see here, you don't see it like this, to this level, right? Again, these are size 12. And I'll be getting the pair from Union tomorrow, and I'll compare these together to see if they're consistent with each other. Because yeah, these did not come from Union. This is a pair from uh, I'll just say a legit authentic plug out here. I'll just say that. But yeah, these are authentic, guys. Don't get it twisted. And yeah, looking at the darker gray here on the rep, it's also got a glossiness to it when it should have a flat finish to it like the authentic to the right. And we'll leave it at that as far as the comparison. Now, what I do want to look at real quick, because I preach about this a lot when it comes to these, is the shape and structure of the shoe. Because I did notice something here on the rear midsole. Here we go. So, okay. Okay. Bear with me a few seconds here. So this is what I mean about the build and so forth. You know, like you can see here how it protrudes here on the mid panel. You see how it protrudes here on the mid panel versus here, it's just flat. You know, this is where I think some people, when they complain about, some people, okay, not everybody, but some people complain about the shoe not being as comfortable and so forth on the rep. Certain people that have messaged me, you know, with things like that. And again, everybody's different with this stuff. We have to remember that, okay? Even though, yeah, Jordan 1s are comfortable across the board, whether they're authentic or not, like I get that. But there's still some internal structural differences, right? You know, concerning the lasting boards and how they're stitched and positioned and so forth. Again, that doesn't mean every rep is uncomfortable. It just means that I can see where some people do actually have issues with some of these shoes. But again, other than the swoosh, you see that these are high-grade materials they're using on these reps. And at this point, just being honest, it's scamable. Even though I'm sitting here showing you these differences, this stuff is scamable, guys. It is. And I don't say scamable meaning like, yeah, make sure to get this pair to scam somebody. I say it that it's that dangerous, that it does mirror the authentic. It does. And if you ain't got that authentic there sometimes to compare, it can be a little bit of a struggle. But that's where we get into the internal stitching, the smells of the shoe, and so forth. And I'll just smell the shoe now. Yeah, your typical Nike smell. And here on the rep, smells like a rep. And what I mean is it just has a different finish. Now, I'm just comparing it to the smell. The smell here that I smell on a rep sometimes you get like a sweet smell. Sometimes you get like this one here. I can only describe it to the smell of, not that that's what it is, to the smell of like Elmer's glue. That's the type of scent I smell there. I highly doubt they used Elmer's glue, guys. You know, elementary school glue in these shoes. I'm just saying though, just certain smells, it just leads me to the rep a lot of times. So the smell does matter, guys. So now we'll go ahead and get into the other details, blacklight tests and the insoles and lasting boards and so forth, and the internal tags, see if they got the factory and dates right. Let's go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the blacklight test. Right here on our right is the authentic versus the rep to the left. So let's start with the rep first. Let's see if we see any guidelines of any sort to anything of that stature in here. Here's a, whoop, hope you can see it there. Got a little bit of a watermark there. Let's look at the rear. No, I'm not seeing any guidelines. And also, when you see pairs with guidelines, typically those are usually like earlier batches or mid-tier pairs, if you want to say that. They try to get better with it to avoid seeing that, but that's just kind of how it goes. Again, I'm seeing some of the stitching here pop a little bit, the line under the stitching there. Nothing in the internals though, but yeah, definitely on the rep here. Definitely not seeing. And this is what I mean by things get scary. You take your black light to it and you don't even see any guidelines at all. So they're getting more and more careful. Now I do see here the glue right here, which it does do it on Authentics too. It is shining out a little bit there. But nope, nothing there. Authentic, I doubt we're gonna, at my tenure, I haven't seen any guidelines on a retail yet in my hands. Now let me check something. I noticed the stitching on the midsole shines. Okay, here we go, guys. The stitching on the midsole here where my thumb is, it is not reacting to the black light. On the Authentic, however, these are the little okie dokes. It's shining right back at you. Hopefully you guys can see that. See that? Shining right back at us. And yeah, inside is glowing a little bit from the glue and so forth. There's that stitch. It's got to shine back at you from the black light, guys. There is our okie doke. This here, what's this? Oh, that's just some stitching reacting to the black light. Yep. That's where we can leave it, guys. So I would say the biggest call out at the moment with the black light, if that stitching doesn't light up on the pair you have, I would question it. Let's keep it moving. Okay, guys, so we got the Authentic and Rep lasting boards here. So what I really wanted to concentrate on was the upper edging here. Now on the Authentic, you see how tight and close the actual stitching is versus the Rep to the right. It's a little bit more spaced out, not as long of a stitch as well. That's something I do typically see as well in comparing these when we're looking at the lasting boards, right? And the holes on the Authentic are a lot cleaner and sharper versus the Rep there to the right. So again, things that seem inconsistent, then you can raise your eyebrow. So here we are with the actual tags, and the dates actually don't match. Also, one thing I've noticed on the Authentics that, as weird as it's going to sound, the Rep internal tags are pristine, clear, and they're not folded up or anything. On the Nike tags, they just are a lot of times for some reason. They're both XC factory, if you can't see it there on the Authentic to the left. And of course, the UPCs do match, except the code below the actual, below the Chinese sizing, the 300 parentheses 2.5. Below that, both of those numbers are completely different. Very interesting. So that's what we got to say about the comparison of the internal tags, and let's keep it moving. Okay, guys, so let's have a look here quickly at the insoles. Retail here on the right, Rep on the left, and you can clearly see the difference in the richness of the black lettering and so forth. Also concerning the obvious diagrams up here and so forth of the sneaker, the print quality is just not as the same or clear. Again, maybe minute to some, but it's just one of those things. Again, as far as ensuring you get an authentic pair, you're good to go. Now they did get the correct size tag, men's size 12 here. They're nearly identical. Minor difference in the text and sizing, but again, we're really pushing it there. But here we go. As you can see, the difference of the print. See how it's more of like a faded print job and so forth, versus it a little bit more crisp and clear on the Authentic. So you can actually make the words out better, black, white. Here, see how fuzzy it is, not as clear. And let's look at the rear. The Rep says Dream Cell, which it is not in glossy. It's a matte black and no Dream Cell, guys, whatsoever. And let's keep moving. And one more thing I did want to touch on concerning the Rep. It does have the correct color laces, the gold, the black and sail, and then the black and gray, or shadow if you want to call it that, as it does on the Authentic gold, black and gray, and black and sail. So I just wanted to let that be known before we ended the video. And I appreciate y'all hanging out with your boy. And, it's been a little minute, but these videos do take time. And, I appreciate y'all patience with us guys here getting this stuff out to you. So if you want to go, the secondary market route, you know what to look for to ensure your pair is authentic. Like I said, any questions, hit me up in the DM on my Instagram or email that I have listed in the description below with any questions. But, again, this was a pretty, we saw some differences here, definitely saw some differences, some eye-catching ones and so forth to help you guys out there if you're looking to stay on this authentic end. But with that, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for hanging out with your boy. Y'all stay blessed. Peace.